Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Admiral Lunday, we had a chance yesterday to talk about the I-5 bridge, which is 108 years old. And if it's not operational, would jeopardize $48 billion worth of freight and trucks over the bridge and barge that transport on the river. We discussed the fact that the Coast Guard needed to make a preliminary navigation clearance determination by January 16th or sooner. Will you commit to that deadline?
Senator, I commit to being coming out with an updated navigation determination by that date.
Thank you. The seafood industry, Admiral, is incredibly important to us, 67,000 jobs. I've heard loud and clear from fishermen that protecting Coast Guard search and rescue is critical to their safety. That makes sense to you, correct? You already understand this mission. But do you have a plan to reopen the 23 search and rescue stations that were temporarily closed?
Ranking Member Cantwell, we don't have a plan to currently reopen them. That's part of the assessment that the Secretary has directed in Force Design 2028 to look at our operating posture of Coast Guard forces as we look at the operating concepts as well.
So what do I tell my fishermen? What do we tell the fishermen about whether the Coast Guard is going to be on the beat if they get in a drastic situation?
If there's someone in distress out at sea, Ranking Member Cantwell, the Coast Guard will respond to those that are in distress.
If the stations are closed and there's no resources close by?
Well, Ranking Member Cantwell, we've taken, as we took actions to address that shortage in our personnel and through the Force Alignment Initiative, we were very deliberate to making sure we still had adequate coverage even across those areas where we were going to take a station that was seasonal and turn it into a forward operating location that wasn't fully manned constantly, crewed constantly. Or we took a response station and changed it to scheduled mission only. So we were deliberate about the risk we were taking in those areas, so we minimized any impact on our ability to timely respond to mariners in distress.
Well, I'd like to go over in more detail that plan with you, since I represent a state with great coastline and great remoteness to getting to a situation very timely when you think about the Strait of Juan de Fuca or out on the Pacific. So I'll look forward to reviewing that with you. One of the other aspects of Coast Guard presence in the Northwest is the Cape disappointment, critical to our, important strategy for the region, but also for the Motor Lifeboat School, which is really very impressive. I think everybody thinks of the Kevin Costner movie where he rescues people, but that's exactly what we train people to do at Cape D. So we need a solution to new docks that accommodate replacement of 52s and a cutting-edge facility to support the workforce and training, and to help with critical infrastructure like protecting the rescue capacity at Oahu by doing dredging. So will you commit to those objectives?
Ranking Member Cantwell, I will. You know, the Coast Guard boat drivers are the best in the world, including there at Cape Disappointment where we train them. It's critically important. The Coast Guard is going to expend $110 million from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act to address the dredging issue that you described in Oahu.
Thank you.
Rather than the continual dredging challenges, we spoke about a more permanent solution, and so we're going to work for a design that will be able to do that effectively.
Well, I welcome you to visit that area of the state. I brought up in my opening statement, obviously, the challenges we faced about sexual assault and misconduct at the Academy. Do you support legislation that we passed out of this committee to improve Coast Guard oversight in response to sexual assault and misconduct, establishing an independent oversight, holding leaders accountable for misconduct, improving care for victims?
Ranking Member Cantwell, I commit to, if confirmed by the Senate, working on any activity that will make the Coast Guard better able to combat and eliminate sexual assault from our organization.
Would you approve a role of the Office of Chief Prosecutor? Because we've found that you need, you have to have intended an oversight and independence for these sexual assault cases.
Ranking Member Cantwell, we currently have and have had since the changes to the National Defense Authorization and Military Justice Reform Act, we've had a flag officer who is our chief prosecutor in the Coast Guard who has the jurisdiction to prosecute those covered offenses, just as in the other military services, they have a special trial counsel. So we are already implementing that.
Okay, so a couple of other, so there were 33 recommendations outlined by the previous Commandant. So I assume that you will work on a timeline to complete those.
I will, Ranking Member Cantwell, we've completed 24 of the 33, and we're working to complete the remaining ones. I look forward to briefing you on those. When those are done, we will not be finished because we're going to keep taking aggressive action to combat and eliminate sexual assault. Not only care for the victims who are victims of this terrible and violent crime that is a cancer on our readiness, but also to make sure we have justice, that we investigate and prosecute those who commit these crimes and hold them fully accountable under the law.
Admiral, thank you for that very strong statement. Very, very much appreciate it. Two really quick things. There's some talk about tsunami warning systems being canceled. I would assume you really appreciate tsunami warning systems in the Coast Guard.
I wasn't aware of that, Ranking Member Cantwell, but we rely on tsunami warning because of the Coast Guard units around the Pacific Rim.
And then we had a chance to talk about fentanyl and the challenges facing us with fentanyl and the inner cooperation between federal and state and local agencies. Do you support those kind of efforts?
I do, Ranking Member Cantwell. On the 29th of January, I directed a focused effort to combat fentanyl trafficking that came from our discussion in the hearing on counter-drug last year before the committee. And so we have increased by over 41% our multi-agency strike force operations targeting fentanyl and precursor shipments in the commercial shipping in our ports. And that relies on a very strong relationship with state and local law enforcement, as well as other federal partners.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.